what attorney are you your team?
Okay.
You
Just my way. No.
And as we move forward slowly here, this is Judge Wheeler. All of the scoring panelists, please rename yourself so that everybody knows you're a scoring panelist. You go to the three little dots at the upper right-hand corner, and it'll be a pull-down menu. It'll say rename, and just put scoring panelist after your name. That way everybody knows who you are. And if you have a scoring panelist plus your actual name, that way I know who I'm talking to. And who is our monitor? I'm looking here. Oh, here we go. I've got Arapahoe County Regional Courtroom 7 must be our monitor. And if we have our monitor, could I hear from him or her? Well, not quite yet. 1, 2. No, not timekeeper. I meant the ACBA monitor. I've got a box here for whoever it is. Well, while I'm waiting for the courtroom monitor to show up, why don't we move forward, because we're a little behind schedule. Could I have all of the attorneys and witnesses, everybody with video? Both teams? There we go. Now, at the moment, I do not have a team roster. I have one online here, but I don't have it up. Let's see. I'm still waiting for our Arapahoe County monitor here. I have a box, so the monitors is available, but I'm not getting any picture here, and I don't have a, whoever it is has the microphone muted as well.
Hey, Judge Stevens, while we're waiting, do you have the team codes for our score sheet?
Let's see. Do we have lead counsel for the plaintiff? Could you activate, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Stern. Okay, and Mr. Stern, what is your team code?
Our team code is Team G.
G is in George?
Yes.
Thank you. And could I have lead counsel for the defendant?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Doyle, the team code for the defense?
A, as in apple.
Thank you very much. Okay, while I'm waiting for our monitor, I'd like to get the, unless one of you can do this for me, I don't know. I need a copy of the your team rosters, or the team roster emailed to me. I like to work off paper on those. It's far, far easier than working on a screen that I have to toggle back and forth. Can one of you send that to me? Is that possible? Do you have that capability? Any of the teammates?
Yes, Your Honor. I have the team roster. I'm not sure how to send that to you.
By email, I'll give you my address right now.
Okay.
Got it? Okay, it is.
It's a PDF. How do I send that?
Yeah, just attach it to the email. You should just
Oh,
be able
okay.
to drag it over and attach it.
Okay.
The email, you got something to write down the address? Are you ready to go?
1 minute. I
Okay.
have to. Okay, I'm ready for the address.
It's Judge, Judge, dot Wheeler, Wheeler, at outlook.com.
Okay.
And I'm guessing I'll see that in a second, so I'll just go forward with getting us started. I have our scoring panelists, Ms. Ives, Ms. Nichols, and Mr. Gruskin. And my practice in doing this, I was a district court judge in this district for 14 plus years. I was a civil trial attorney for 26 years before that. This particular case pattern is kind of in my wheelhouse, to be honest with you. So I did the Denver series. I'm doing this series, and hopefully I'll do the state series as well, because I'm retired and don't have a lot to do right now. Something just came in. Let me make sure I've got it. Thank you very much. Exactly what I needed. I'm going to print this off real quickly. Okay, now to continue, my practice is to have you have the scoring panelists introduce themselves very briefly, just so that you as team members know who you're dealing with here. Ms. Ives, if you go first.
Thank you, Your Honor. My name is Kate Ives. Unlike Judge Wheeler, this case is not in my wheelhouse. I've been a securities lawyer for about 30 years. So if you want to talk prospectuses, I could do it, but this will be very interesting. So that's kind of my background, and I look forward to watching. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Nichols?
Hi, I'm Shannon Nichols. I'm a family law attorney, so not in my wheelhouse either, but I'm looking forward to it.
Great. And Mr. Gruskin?
This is Mark Gruskin. I apologize, my camera seems not to be functional. I am an attorney. I do some civil work, primarily in the elections and regulatory sphere. So this is, sounds to me like you have three fair-minded judges who are interested in your cases. Thank you.
Thank you. And those are our jurors. You may drop your video on all of our scoring panelists. And you'll be back at the end of our case. Now, and I'm looking here, I've got for the prosecution, I'm trying to remember here it's Mr. Stern, isn't it? Let's see here. I'm looking. All right, these are the trial rosters for the teams. Not really what I was looking for from our Arapahoe County representative. Do we have our representative, our courtroom monitor on at this point?
I'm here, Judge Wheeler.
And who is it, by the way, just so I don't say, you.
Kim.
Kim?
Oops, hold on. Just lost my. Okay, I'm here.
And your name is Kim?
Kim Bockenstead.
Kim, thank you. Could you email me a copy of the, I guess it's the team roster that has the actual names of the participants on it?
Yes, sir. I'll send that
And
right now.
you need my address?
I have it. And it's, let me go back to my other window. A and G. Yes, I will send that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And our, for the plaintiff in this case, I believe it's Mr. Stern. Before I ask you to introduce everyone, is your team all ready, witnesses and attorneys?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ready for trial?
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Doyle, same. Is your team all assembled, both attorneys and witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor.
And ready for trial?
Yes.
Great. I'm going to ask, starting with the plaintiff, Mr. Stern, if you would introduce yourself and have your attorneys and witnesses introduce themselves.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Opposing counsel, members of the jury. My name is Charlie, and today I'll be directing Dr. Casey Rogers, crossing Skylar Weirs, as well as providing the opening statement. At this time, my co-counsel will introduce themselves.
Thank you. And we'll have any one of you, Mr. Rhodey.
Good evening, Your Honor. Opposing counsel, members of the jury. My name is Dex, and I'll be directing Dakota Weirs and crossing Dr. Devin Williams and conducting the closing argument.
Thank you. And our final attorney?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Shannon Saxena, and today I'll be directing Carson Durst and crossing Blake Donker.
Okay, and last name is pronounced again?
Saxena.
Saxena. Okay, thank you very much. Is it possible to close the curtains behind you?
It's not, sir.
You think not? Okay, I'm just, there's so much light coming into your camera that we can't, you look like an anonymous witness in a drug case. So can you raise the camera up by any, like putting books under your laptop or something like that to raise the camera so that we get less of the windows behind you?
Yeah, I can fix that right now, sir.
Okay, great. And if I could have the witnesses for the plaintiff.
Good evening. My name is Parker, and I'm Dakota Weirs.
And our next witness. And by the way, Mr. Saxena, that's perfect.
My name is Colin, and I am playing Carson Durst.
And our third witness.
Good evening. My name is Luke, and I am Dr. Casey Rogers.
Thank you. And Ms. Doyle for the defense, if you would introduce yourself, have your attorneys and witnesses do the same.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Trinity Doyle, and I am directing Dr. Devin Williams, crossing Dr. Casey Rogers, and presenting the closing statement. and I, along with my co-counsel, represent the defense. Permission for my co-counsel to introduce themselves.
Yes, they may.
Good day, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Liv Lane, and I'll be presenting the opening statement as well as crossing Dakota Weirs and Carson Durst. I will be directing Blake Doncourt and Skylar Weirs as well.
Thank you.
May our witnesses please introduce themselves?
Yes, they may.
My name is Janelle Moore, and I am Blake Doncourt.
Thank you.
My name is Aaliyah Loera, and I am Skylar Weirs.
Thank you. And finally,
My name is Mo Chisholm, and I am Dr. Devin Williams.
thank you very much. Okay, it looks like everybody's connected. We've got good video on everybody. Actually, Mr. Saxena, if you could tilt your camera down just a little bit. That's perfect. Okay. This is the first round, as you know. So this, I traditionally, again, go into a little more detail on the first round. After the first round, second round, third round, you've heard most of this stuff, and I abbreviate it. You don't need to hear it. Have me bore you again with all of the details. However, let me go. I have to skip through a couple of things here due to our virtual nature. Taking screenshots or videos is prohibited, just as it would be in the courtroom. So please be aware of that. If you are all of those folks who have joined us through the other link, the public link where they're watching, please understand that the Colorado Bar Association, of course, has the right through the competition to do any photography or video recording. Do we have any, for our scoring panelists, do we have any conflicts that you've noted? Ms. Ives?
No, Your Honor.
And Ms. Nichols?
None, Your Honor.
And Mr. Griskin?
None, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Unless we hear from, we won't be moving forward quite yet as far as starting the trial until we hear from the Arapahoe County representative, the bar representative, that there are no conflicts. But I'm going to move forward with my advisements. Remember, as you probably know, there are no recesses which will be allowed unless there is a medical emergency or if we have some kind of technical problem. In which case, if we have a technical problem, we will probably all notice it, myself included, and we'll just pause, fix the problem, and move forward. Sounds like everybody's got a good connection at the moment. If there is a medical emergency, notify me immediately, and we will take a recess or deal with that appropriately. Let's see. Any disputes that arise out of the competition must be reported in accordance with the competition rules. Time requirements will be enforced. It will mean that we don't cut you off, but if you do go long, that will be noted by the scoring panelists and scored appropriately. Do we have a timekeeper? Looks like I see a timekeeper for Team A, and I see a Time G timekeeper. Timekeeper for the plaintiff in Team G, are you ready to go? And I assume you'll need to unmute yourself.
Oh, I apologize, Your Honor. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, and how will you be providing notices? By video or by chat?
I will be providing by chat.
By chat, okay. Timekeeper for Team A, are you ready to go?
Yes, I am. I'm going to be providing it through chat.
By chat, okay. So make sure you have your chat screens open, and that will facilitate our timekeepers. I would just remind all of those folks watching in the public that if you are a member of a different team, and I believe there's a rule about having, two students on two different teams, you're allowed to watch, but otherwise you cannot watch a competing team unless you have a interest in that particular team. I'm going to swear everybody in here. First, I'm going to swear all of the attorney members. If you would raise your hands, please, your right hands, and you may simply assent by nodding. You don't need to activate your microphone. Team members, do you promise that the presentation you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to the facts and rules of the mock trial competition? Thank you. And witnesses, if you would all raise your right hands, please. And again, nod in assent. Do you promise that the testimony you're about to give will faithfully and truthfully conform to your witness statements, that you will not add material facts or opinions which are not contained in the case problem, and that you will follow the rules and procedures of the mock trial competition? Thank you. Finally, the scoring panelists, again, you don't need to activate your microphones or video if you don't wish, but please raise your right hands. Do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and objectively as possible in accordance with the facts, procedures, and rules of the mock trial competition?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you all. Now, having judged the Denver competition, this problem goes a little long, and it usually goes a little long because there are a tremendous number of evidentiary issues that we have to deal with. It's not that any one takes a lot of time, it's just there are a lot of them. And we found that we drug a little, and we're also probably about 20 minutes behind right now. So I started doing this and it worked very well. I will swear all of the witnesses right now. Normally my practice when we have in-person trials is I swear each witness as they come to the stand, just like it would be in a trial. That will save us about 5 to 8 minutes over the course of the entire trial. So I'm going to ask all of you witnesses, please raise your right hand. I will swear you in now. What this will mean is that the attorney can call you to the stand and you may testify immediately. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to provide in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I see all of you nodding. Thank you very much. You are all sworn. That pretty much does our preliminary. I understand, let's see here. Here, done with my sheets. And I have I'm going to very quickly here put some last names in just so I don't have to ask. Opening statement, Charlie is Mr. Stern, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And let's see, I've got direct, it says, and that is Mr. Saxena, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And you'll be taking the first witness. Oh no, I'm sorry, second witness. First witness is Dex. Who am I? Mr. Rohde, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Stern, you'll be taking the third witness, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And for cross, we've got, let's see here. Closing, I also have Mr. Rohde.
Yes, Your Honor.
For cross, I have cross on the first witness. I've got, where am I? Oh, Mr. Oh, that's on the, in the defense case, Mr. Saxena, you'll be doing cross on the first witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and let's see. Mr. Stern, you'll be doing cross on the second witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
And third witness is Mr. Rhodey.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Rhodey, you're doing closing as well, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, for the defense, I've got opening statement is, I'm looking for a Joshua here. Mr. Ortanes? Is that the correct pronunciation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Ortanes, okay. And for the first witness, I have Kat or Catherine. I'm looking here. Oh, is it Kate? No, that's our scoring panelist. Who have I got for the first witness here for the defense? For the attorney? No one's speaking up.
Could you clarify, please?
It says direct examination for the defense first attorney. It says Kat.
That
that
is
wrong?
incorrect.
Okay, who should it be?
For directing the first witness,
Yes.
Liv Lane.
Ms. Lane, okay. And for the second witness, I have Mr. Ortanes, correct, as attorney? Mr. Ortanes, that's correct?
Your Honor, I'm a witness.
Oh, I've got, I'm sorry, I had Joshua here.
Yeah.
Okay, who is directing the second witness for the defense?
I am.
And that would be Ms. Lane.
Yes,
No, wait, I thought you were directing the first witness.
I'm directing both.
You're directing both.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'm on the prosecution.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've got, you're right. I've got, why do I have, I've got two team Gs here. That's my problem. Never mind. My fault. Sorry. Give me a moment. That's why. Never mind. I had the first email I got had two team G, one for prosecution, one for defense, both for team G. I now have team A here. Give me just a moment. Sorry, my fault. I just have to print it out. Kim sent them to me, but I thought it was the same thing I had already gotten, but it was not. So no wonder you were confused. It was my problem. Okay. Now, let's go back. Okay, I've got Team A defense. Got it. And Team A has all of your last names already there, so I don't have to write them down. So let's try to get through this. Opening statement will be Ms. Lane. Direct on first witness will be Ms. Lane. Direct on second witness will be Ms. Lane. Direct on third witness will be Ms. Doyle, correct?
Yes.
And closing will be Ms. Doyle, correct?
Correct.
And cross-examination for the defense for Team A, first witness will be Ms. Lane, correct?
Yes.
Second witness cross will be Ms. Doyle,
Yes.
and third witness cross will be again Ms. Lane, correct?
Yes, sir.
And already got closing. Okay. Sorry for the confusion. Mr. Stern, anything before we begin?
Yes, Your Honor. A few preliminary matters. The prosecution only has two, Your Honor. Just to confirm that once exhibits are shared on the screen, they are hidden from the jury until Your Honor has published them into evidence.
Yes, your timekeepers are going to be publishing the, or are going to be sharing the screen, is that correct?
No, we will be.
Counsel will be doing it? Okay.
Yes.
What I ask you to do then is share them immediately. I'll instruct the jury not to consider them until I rule on them. But that will make it much easier just to share the screen. The jurors will not consider them until they are admitted. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Acceptable for defense as well? Ms. Doyle?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stern, go right ahead.
If the situation arises, we would like to request the ability to confer with co-counsel via Zoom chat.
Of course you may, that will mean, however, that time will be running, correct?
Okay.
Good enough.
What does that mean?
Anything else?
No further preliminary matters, Your Honor. Prosecution is ready for trial.
Ms. Doyle, anything beyond that?
Yes. We request permission to reserve any time not used in our closing argument for rebuttal.
Yes, I will ask if you want to reserve it up front. And if you say so, the timekeeper will give you an indication. If you say no, just whatever's left for rebuttal, then they will not give you an indication at that time. Fair enough?
Yes.
Good enough. Okay. Mr. Stern, let's have opening statement.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury, chemicals cause cancer. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is a cancer that derails the life of its victims. Dakota Weir's life has been jeopardized due to the actions or inactions made by a greedy company by the name of Lush Fertilizer. By not warning him of the dangers of the chemical Drufo, they failed to protect him and failed to uphold the safety of workers. They prioritized profit over people. This case presents pressing issues that must be addressed. Our client, Dakota Weir's, has been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from his continued exposure to the product Drufo, created by Lush Fertilizer. This case is brought to the jury today because Lush Fertilizer was negligent in exercising reasonable care to prevent the product from creating an unreasonable risk of harm to our client. This case is very straightforward. The evidence will prove that our client, Dakota Weir's, was unknowingly exposed to chemicals that have led to his diagnosis of cancer. Today, we will call upon three witnesses, Dakota Weir's, Carson Durst, and Dr. Casey Rogers. Dakota Weir's will tell us how non-Hodgkin's lymphoma derailed his life. Then Carson Durst will explain how Lush Fertilizer was negligent in its practices and prioritized profit over the safety of its consumers. Finally, Dr. Casey Rogers will inform us on the correlation between Drufo and the risk of being diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. These testimonies will all serve as proof as to why Lush Fertilizer is to blame for this case. This is a civil case, and our client, Dakota Weir's, must prove his case with a preponderance of evidence. To prove something by a preponderance of evidence means he must prove that his case is more probably true than not. Dakota Weirs has been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma due to his continued exposure from the chemical Drufo created by Lush Fertilizer. After you have heard all of the evidence, at the end of the trial, we will ask you to return a verdict in favor of Dakota Weirs so that he will receive justice against Lush Fertilizer.
Thank you. And Ms. Lane, opening statement for the defense.
Your Honor, honorable members of the jury and of the opposing counsel, I am Liv Lane, and this is my team. We represent Lush Fertilizer. We're here today due to the accusations placed on Lush Fertilizer by Dakota Weirs. Dakota Weirs' claims against the defense include the defendant being negligent in the making of Drufo, producing the product without exercising reasonable care, and not considering the plaintiff to be one of the product's consumers. I ask that you find Lush not guilty of these charges. These claims are false because, as we all know, rumors don't cause tumors. Dakota's main suspicion of the product began with her discovery of a mere television news story. Who here has ever seen a story on the news that does not tell the whole truth, a story that has misled you? Fake news is everywhere now. With the ideas given to her by this one story alone, Dakota began her research on Lush Fertilizer. Dakota and her team will likely present evidence today that has been gathered to make Lush Fertilizer look criminal. These claims will likely include the fact that Lush's product is dangerous. We're here to say that Lush, like any publicly sold chemical compound, has chemicals and chemical bonds. These chemical bonds could potentially be dangerous. However, Lush's team of scientists and engineers have done their absolute best to ensure their product is one of the cleanest and safest products on the markets today. Many witnesses will be put on the stand today to both affirm and deny these claims. Today, you will hear from Skylar Weirs, who will prove the previously made point. Skylar Weirs is a reliable journalist and has done hours upon hours of research and writing on topics including GMO, agritech, and other related matters. She will also explain to you that her relationship with her sister has changed both their lives due to her illness. You will also hear from Blake Doncourt, honorable and proud member and CEO of Lush Fertilizer. He will be talking about the hard work he's done to get this company on its feet and make Lush Fertilizer a trustworthy, safe, reliable company. Another witness will be the expert Dr. Devin Williams. Dr. Williams is very well versed in the chemicals included in this product, having a PhD in pharmacotoxicology. They have taken many measures to ensure the safety of using this product. Today, the plaintiff has the burden of proof. You will hear from the plaintiff's witnesses claiming they know things about Lush Fertilizer and how it affects the human body. They will be making these claims with no past experience or knowledge in this subject. Be sure to keep in mind these people may claim to be experts, but you should consider the limit to their expertise yourself. People like Carson Durst, Dr. Casey Rogers, and Dakota Weirs, will testify that they are very knowledgeable in the dangers of Drufo, but be sure to consider the limits of their expertise. Be sure to remember that rumors don't cause tumors. I ask that you find Lush not liable for negligence due to the facts that have been presented to you. I also ask that you be diligent in deciphering the difference between facts and rumors, that you take the evidence into account and decipher its legitimacy as well. We trust you to make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And before we have the first witness, just a note to our scoring panelists, I forgot to mention, if any of you have any problems, either indicate to the ACBA monitor, or just to me, just break in either with audio and tell me you've got a problem or you need some more time before we move forward. Otherwise, we will simply move forward from witness to witness. At this point, will the prosecution is Mr. Rohde, please call your first witness.
Your Honor, the prosecution calls Dakota Weirs to the stand. Good evening. Could you please state?
Do you have video, Mr. Rohde? And there's your.
Oh, yes.
There we go. And Ms. Lane, if you would, as long as you have a quiet background there, if you would activate your audio, that way there'd be no delay in any objection you wish to make. Mr. Rhodey, you may proceed and introduce your witness. He is already sworn in.
Good evening. Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Dakota Weirs. That is spelled Weirs.
Why are you here today, Mr. Weirs?
I'm here today to sue Lush Fertilizer for negligence due to the lack of warning on their product, and as a result, my contracting of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Objection, Your Honor, beyond the witness's scope of knowledge.
Mr. Rhodey. Whoops. Oh,
Permission to confer with co-counsel?
yes, you may.
Could you please repeat the objection?
And you may leave your audio on, Ms. Lane.
I will do that. The objection I made was beyond the scope of the witness's knowledge.
I believe this is within the scope of the witness's knowledge.
Ms. Lane.
The witness is not entered as an expertise or as an expert in this case and has no expertise in the subject of contracting cancer.
I'm going to overrule the objection. The question was, why are you here? And he has apparently been told that he has cancer and was being treated for that. So although he's not a doctor, it is within his knowledge that he has been told that. Now, if that's the only, that apparently is the only objection, not that he doesn't have the expertise to testify to it, merely that he does not have the knowledge. Well, he does have the knowledge. That's what he was told. So overruled. Mr. Rhodey, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Weirs, how would you describe your life before your diagnosis?
Before I was diagnosed, I was very involved in my community, both at school and through extracurriculars. I was a member of the National Honor Society and a member of my school's student government.
And how did you fare in school?
I worked hard to achieve good grades and just enjoyed being with my friends and learning.
What hobbies did you partake in outside of school?
I was almost always involved in a new activity, but my passion had always been piano. My passion for piano grew with my passing of my grandfather, who shared my love for the intoxicating melodies of a grand piano, and it helped me keep a piece of him with me.
And how successful were you in this piano career, Mr. Weirs?
Objection.
I won some competitions.
There's an objection, Ms. Lane.
Relevance to the case.
Mr. Rhodey.
This is relevant because it relates to the cancer that has been contracted by Mr. Weirs.
Ms. Lane.
I'm sorry, I suppose I'm just confused as to how the success in this client's piano career relates to their cancer.
Well, why would that not be relevant to his claim for emotional damages? I'm asking Ms. Lane, I'm asking you, why is that not relevant?
I just don't believe that emotional damages have been brought up in the case yet. Merely their former life.
All right, I'm going to overrule the objection. I believe there is relevance in both what he was doing, what he's been prevented from doing, and why that is important. If he wasn't very good at it, well, it wouldn't be very important. So he says he was successful. I'll allow that testimony. Mr. Rhodey, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to repeat the question. And how successful were you in your piano career, Mr. Weirs?
I won some competitions, and many people would come far and wide to watch me play. Through studious dedication to piano, I was able to attract many scholarships, including one from Juilliard, one of the finest musical conservatories of the world.
And how did your diagnosis impact these opportunities?
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma caused quite painful lymph nodes, as well as frequent chills and chest pains. I no longer have the stamina to sit at a hard piano bench because of fatigue spells, shortness of breath, and bruising from the hard bench.
What became of your scholarships?
Well, with my inability to play, my dreams of going to Juilliard to pursue my passion were crushed. I fear I may never be able to recover enough to play the way I used to.
I would now like to transition to your experience with Lush Fertilizer.
I was exposed to Lush Fertilizer at my job working as a landscape technician for Haven Landscaping.
And why did this job attract you?
Even though I was responsible for spreading seed and fertilizer because I wasn't old enough to operate the machinery, I was around 14 at the time. I loved being outdoors and working with my hands, so I was perfectly content with the work because I need the money to put myself through school.
And when did it occur to you, Mr. Weirs, that Lush Fertilizer was the culprit for your illness?
Well, one day during a rough bout of depression, I saw a story that said someone had leaked documents showing that Lush had lied about the safety of its products and that Drufo, one of the main ingredients.
Honor hearsay.
Mr. Rhodey?
Can you repeat the objection?
Hearsay.
Your Honor, permission to confer with co-counsel.
Yes, you may.
I believe that is not hearsay. He saw the news story and contributed this to his knowledge.
Ms. Lane,
We will address this in the cross.
you're withdrawing the objection?
Yes.
Okay, objection is withdrawn. Mr. Rhodey, you may, if you need to re-ask the question, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to repeat the question. And when did it occur to you, Mr. Weirs, that Lush Fertilizer was the culprit for your illness?
Well, one day during a rough bout of depression, I saw a story that said someone had leaked documents showing that Lush had lied about the safety of its products and that Drufo, one of the main ingredients, could cause non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Let the record reflect that opposing counsel has previously been provided with a copy of Exhibit 1. Your Honor, permission to share my screen so the witness may view a copy of Exhibit 1.
Yes, you may, and the jury will not consider this until I admit it. Go right ahead.
I don't know. Without going into the contents of this exhibit, can you identify it, Mr. Weirs?
Yes, this is Lush Fertilizer's American product label.
And Mr. Rhodey, can you rotate that, please?
Yeah, maybe.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know. Is this a true and correct copy?
Yes.
Your Honor, the prosecution offers Exhibit 1 into evidence.
And Ms. Lane, any objection to 1?
No, sir.
I'm sorry.
No, sir. No
Thank you
objection.
very much. Exhibit 1 is admitted. Let's proceed.
Thank you, sir. I'm trying to stop. And what evidence have you found about the dangers of Drufo, Mr. Weirs?
Well, after my father saw the leaked documents, he decided to do some research into Lush and Drufo. He found that Lush fertilizer produced in other countries, such as France, contained no Drufo because it's outlawed.
Let the record reflect that the opposing counsel has previously been provided with a copy of Exhibit 2. Your Honor, permission to share my screen so the witness may view a copy of Exhibit 2.
Yes, you may.
Does it need to be rotated?
Yes. Should just take 1. There you go.
Without going into the contents of the exhibit, can you identify it, please?
Yes, this is Lush Fertilizer's French product label.
Is it a true and correct copy?
Yes.
Your Honor, the prosecution offers exhibit number 2 into evidence.
Ms. Lane, as to Exhibit 2, any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
Exhibit 2 is admitted. Mr. Rhodey, you may proceed.
Permission to publish to the jury?
Yes, you may. I'm sorry.
Mr. Weirs, what is your relationship with Skylar Weirs?
We are fraternal twins and we would do almost everything together, but we're never really close to each other.
How do you believe Skylar is related to this illness?
Well, like I said, we did everything together, except for my job at Haven. If the disease was genetic, Skylar would have been infected as well, but this cancer is environmental, and the only environment I was exposed to that differed from my twin was while working for Haven.
And what does Skylar do now?
Skylar is a freelance writer and a part-time server at a restaurant. They wrote many articles about the safety of Drufo that were published in a respectable scientific magazine, but they also wrote on topics such as UFOs, flat earth theory, chemtrails, and anti-vax. They will write anything for the right price.
And how do you feel that Skylar is representing the defense in a case against her own twin?
It devastates me. I think our relationship really took a turn with the medical bills. You see, Skylar has a pretty problematic gambling addiction and had racked up some debt. The bills took her funds away to pay back her debts. She would tell me that I was ruining the legacy of our family and that there would be nothing left to pass down when my father eventually passes.
Objection, Your Honor. Improper character evidence.
Mr. Rhodey.
Permission to confer with co-counsel?
Yes, you may.
Can you please restate the objection?
Of course. I said improper character evidence because I don't believe the witness's reputation is an issue.
I do believe the witness's reputation is an issue because she is representing the other side in this case.
I'm going to overrule the objection. This could be looked at as character evidence, but it also can be looked at as evidence of bias. And credibility is always an issue with every witness. And I know that we will be having the sibling as a witness in this case, and the credibility of that witness, of that sibling, is at issue. So in looking at it as credibility evidence, evidence of bias, as opposed to bad character, that's how I'm looking at it. Objection is overruled. You may proceed, Mr. Rhodey.
Thank you, Honor. Thank you, Mr. Rears. No further questions, Your Honor.
And Ms. Lane, cross-exam.
Yes, Your Honor. Hello, Dakota. I'd like to start by saying my entire team sends you our well wishes and hope you a swift recovery.
Thank you.
I'd like to start by asking, did at one point in your life you use Lush Fertilizers product?
Yes, I did.
And you started using it at the age of 14?
Yes.
And you stopped using it at about 3 or 4 years later, correct?
Yes.
This setting you at around the age of 17 or 18?
Around there.
So you were a legal child up until your last few months of employment?
Yes, it can be seen that way.
Are you aware of the warning label on this product?
Yes, I am.
Your Honor, permission to screen share what has previously been marked as Exhibit 1?
Yes, you may.
I believe our timekeeper will be doing that.
Hi, I'm so sorry. We were not prepared for that, but I can get it ready if you give me like a moment or two.
That's my fault for not asking. I apologize. I'll tell you what, Mr. Rhodey, why don't you, can you put that up for the time being, Mr. Rhodey? You had it up initially. Exhibit 1.
Exhibit. Yes, I can.
And will be, Ms. Lane, will you have any additional witness or any additional exhibits?
No, sir.
Okay, so that's all we'll need for this witness. Thank you, Mr. Rhodey. Ms. Lane, you may proceed.
Could you please clearly state to the court what is being shown, Mr. Weirs?
Yes, it is the product label on, it's the ingredients label of Lush fertilizer.
And could you please silently read along with me as I allow the section of this document labeled user safety recommendations? As with any spray fertilizer, utilize protective clothing that covers exposed skin. Use a respirator or N95 face mask is recommended. Follow manufacturer's instructions for cleaning or maintaining personal protective gear, personal protective equipment, PPE. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
We can clearly see that you, as a former user of this product, were told to wear certain items of protective gear, correct?
Yes.
Were you also told to wear these certain clothing by your boss, such as long sleeves?
He recommended it, but he never enforced this rule.
Did he also recommend the usage of long pants?
Yes, he recommended it.
What about gloves?
Occasionally, yes, he would also recommend it.
Face coverings?
All these are just recommendations from our boss, yes.
Did you wear these recommended garments?
Sometimes I would, but other times I wasn't able to do
Mr. Weirs, thank you.
Repeat, please.
Did you wear these recommended garments?
Yes. No, I did not.
Did you know at the time that not doing so could lead to future problems?
No, because there's no safety recommendations.
If you had known this, would you have changed the clothing into what was suggested?
Yes, I would have, but there was no recommendations.
Only willing to do the correct thing when you stand to lose something, like your health, for example. Is that correct?
No, because I didn't realize how severe the consequences were.
But if you had, you would have worn the suggested clothing.
Yes, if I would have known, I would have.
Have you seen a doctor about this cancer?
Yes, I have.
Does your doctor have hope in your recovery?
No, he does not believe I can recover.
I would like to direct your attention to, I'm sorry, if you'll just give me 1 second. Oh, I'd like to direct your attention to the 3rd page of your witness statement, line 53. This line, I'll go from 52.
And Mr. Weirs, do you have a copy of that?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Starting at line 52, I fear I will never be well enough to pursue a career in concert piano, even though my doctor has not given up hope.
Is that a question?
I'd like to ask you the question again. Does your doctor have hope in your recovery?
Yes, he has hope in my recovery.
Do you have hope in your recovery?
Personally, no, I do not.
Are you hoping to go to college?
Yes, I do hope to go to college.
And what college were you hoping to attend, Mr. Weirs?
I was hoping to attend Juilliard, and I've been given a scholarship as well.
Did you accept this scholarship?
I wasn't able to because of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and my inability to play piano.
Was the scholarship revoked after your diagnosis?
No, but they gave me 2 years, and I fear I won't be able to play as well as I used to.
So you rejected the scholarship?
Well, I had to due to my non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and my inability to play piano.
But you had 2 years to recover in order to, get back to college?
Well, with my situation right now, with horrible chest pains and fatigue from just sitting down, I don't know how to make a recovery.
Did or did you not have 2 years?
I did have 2 years.
Thank you. Mr. Weirs, would you describe yourself as depressed?
I've had bouts of depression in the past.
Are you a medical professional?
No, I'm not.
So you, without a medical career, without a medical degree, without even a college degree, diagnose yourself as depressed?
I don't need a medical degree or any of that
Just a yes or no answer will suffice.
The witness may answer as he will. If you feel that that answer is inappropriate and longer than it needs to be, you may ask him about that. But you may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you repeat the question again, please?
Would you describe yourself as depressed?
Yes, I've had bouts of depression.
Has your doctor clearly confirmed your suspicions of Drufo as the cause for your cancer?
No, he has not.
And yet you're blaming Drufo for your condition?
Yes, because there's lots of evidence that leads me to the conclusion that Drufo is what caused my non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
And how did you find out about the possible link between Drufo and cancer? It was on a TV story, right?
Yes, a news story.
Are you aware or have you ever been misled by fake news?
I have been slightly misled due to biases, but
Would you say fake news is prevalent in the media today?
I would not say prevalent. I would say that there are some sites that may be biased, but it's not prevalent.
Have you been entered as an expert witness in this court?
No, I've not.
Do you have any formal education in chemistry or medicine?
No.
So can you say with 100% certainty, knowing and being aware of fake news and having no degree, that Drufo gave you cancer?
No, but just because there is fake news doesn't mean all news is fake. Could you repeat, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. And Mr. Rohde, redirect.
Your Honor, can you repeat that, please?
Redirect exam. Redirect for the plaintiff.
I'm not sure what that means, Your Honor.
Well, I'm sorry. I should have. I was a little rushed at the beginning. Normally, I indicate to everybody, you'll be provided with direct exam, cross exam, redirect, and recross. 4 parts to every testimony. This is the first witness. We've had direct and cross. You now, for the plaintiff, may redirect based on the cross examination if you wish. If not, then we're done with the witness.
I don't need to say that.
No other redirect. That means there will be no recross. Mr. Weirs, thank you very much. Your testimony is concluded.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And we'll now have testimony from the second witness. Mr. Saxena, please call your witness.
Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Carson Durst to the stand.
Okay, and Mr. Durst is on the stand. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Plaintiff 2 character. Mr. Durst is the witness, and Ms. Lane again is cross-examining. Mr. Saxena, you may proceed.
Good afternoon. Can you please state your name and spell your last for the jury?
My name is Carson Durst. It is spelled D-U-R-S-T.
Tell me about your educational background.
I went to ASU and received a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering.
Where do you currently work?
I work at Terra's Greenery as the product development manager and its development of its line of fertilizers and lawn enhancement products.
And how long have you worked there?
I've worked there since 2006.
Have you worked for anybody else?
I began my long and illustrious career in the fertilizer industry in 2003 with the company in defense, Lush Fertilizer, where I worked until December of 2006. Following that, I received my current job at Terra's Greenery.
What do you do at Lush Fertilizer?
I also became a product development manager for Lush Fertilizer, where I work specifically with Drufo.
What other ties do you have here at Lush?
I had an extremely close relationship with the Doncourt family. I played on a traveling soccer team with Charles, and we became inseparable best friends. I stayed over for many family dinners, and we eventually went to ASU together.
Did this relationship influence you to get the job at Lush?
Yes, Blake and Charles gave me an incredible opportunity to work at this job, despite it being only regularly open to people with more experience than me. But due to this opportunity, I was able to prove myself and earn various different promotions.
In your time at Lush Fertilizer, how would you describe your relationship with your coworkers and peers?
It was good, despite some of them being particularly jealous of my relationship with the Doncourt family.
How important were you to the company?
Based on my many promotions and my new vision in the field, I was considered incredibly important.
Could you please elaborate on why you
We're getting a little background noise, possibly. Ms. Lane, is that your end?
No.
No? Well, seems to have stopped, so let's go ahead.
I'd like to apologize. Could you please elaborate on why you were fired?
They seemed to devalue me after I questioned their product, and after a heated argument with Carson Durst, I began looking for employment elsewhere.
What products did you question?
I questioned Drufo and its possibility of being carcinogenic.
Could you elaborate on that?
I found a study that concluded that particular chemical components may be carcinogenic in rats.
Let the record show that the opposing counsel has previously been provided with a copy of Exhibit 8. Your Honor, permission to share my screen with a copy of Exhibit 8?
You may post Exhibit 8 for identification. And if you could also rotate that, if you can. I'm not seeing a rotation button. It doesn't look like we can do that. If you just and not a big deal. If you can't rotate it, that's okay. Go ahead and post it again. And Mr. Saxena, you may post it without rotating it. That's fine.
Your Honor, permission to confer with co-counsel?
In trying to get it up, trying to get the document up?
Yes.
Oh, sure, of course you can. And let's just pause our timekeeping, please. Looks like we've got a technical problem.
Your Honor, there seems to be a description in timekeeping. Yes, I just noticed that. I think that you started it at a different number because I think you're supposed to start on directs at 25 minutes. Isn't it supposed to be 25 for all and 24 crosses? Right now we are at 20 minutes left. Your Honor, may correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the whole direct supposed to be 25 minutes altogether, not just each separate direct?
That's my understanding, but I can't swear to it. I honestly don't know.
I am pretty sure that each direct is 25 minutes, but I can double check about that real quick.
I don't think
told.
so. I mean, we'd be going for hours if that were the case. Do we have our Arapahoe County representative? Kim?
Actually, I believe I am wrong. I'm so sorry about that.
Okay, so let's get a correct time before we start up again. From timer G.
Sorry, I missed, apologize. What was the question again?
We just need a correct time that everybody can use for remaining cross-examination.
So I've been keeping my time kind of separate. So the first what's it called? The first time was so the previous time what's it called? The wires cross was ended at what's it called? 17 minutes and 23 seconds, and then this one I was just doing the math. That's why I'm a bit messy. But so it ended at 17, 23, and then I said 15 at 12, 18, and now and I was going to be at 3:27 time. Can you give me a moment to figure out the time, the current time?
Yeah. Let's get a firm time that everybody can agree on, or at least I can rule on, and then we'll proceed. Okay?
Yeah.
Quickly as we can.
Apologize.
I'm so sorry about that.
That's all right.
Thank you
Not a
for letting
problem.
me know.
Not a problem. And while we're waiting for that, we've got Mr. Saxena. Is this the screen on Exhibit 8 that you wish to for me to view?
I'm at Exhibit 3.
Oh, this is Exhibit 3. Okay. Is this the screen that you wish me to look at?
Yes.
Okay. And we're just waiting for time here. As soon as we get it, we'll proceed.
Would you like me to start at 15 minutes since we stopped it around there?
Your Honor, I just calculated. We're at 15 or 15 minutes and 7 seconds. So we can start at 15.
We'll start at 15. Okay, so we're back on track.
All right, I'll set it for then. Sorry about this.
Mr. Saxena, there's a total of 15 minutes left for all cross. I'm sorry. We're on, or for all direct exam. This is direct exam, is it not?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone mentioned cross exam. We're on direct exam, correct? We have 15 minutes left for all direct exam.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's start. Mr. Saxena, what do you want me to see here? Please ask your witness to identify this.
Without going into its contents, can you identify this?
Yes, this is an English study which goes into how Drufa is carcinogenic in rats.
Was Lush aware of this study?
Yes, they knew of it, and I made it clear in my reports.
What did Lush Fertilizer do knowing of this?
Let's get this admitted into evidence first.
I submit this to the jury. Permission to publish to the jury?
Not unless I know this is a accurate copy of the original.
Is it a true and correct copy? Is it a true and correct copy?
Yes, it is.
All right, Ms. Lane, do you have any objection to Exhibit 3?
No objections, Your Honor.
Exhibit 3's in. Mr. Saxena, you may proceed with your witness.
Your Honor, the prosecution offers Exhibit 3 into evidence.
Yes, it is admitted and the jury may consider it and you may continue with it.
What did Lush Fertilizer do knowing of this?
They did further studies, but those studies had clear limits on preventing them from showing Truffaut's flaws.
Did they have anything to lose from these studies showing harms?
Yes, this was an incredibly valuable chemical to them. They would have lost a lot of money if this was taken off the market due to its value.
Objection, Your Honor, outside witness's scope of knowledge.
Mr. Saxena, if you can lay some further foundation on this or have a response.
As a employee of the company, I believe that Mr. Durst would have knowledge of how this would impact the company's performance.
You'll need to ask him that question then.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
You'll need to ask him if he has that knowledge. You say that he does, but you need to ask him that is.
Mr. Durst, is that correct? Do you have that knowledge? Okay. Did they consider any further precautions?
They considered baking it, but they determined not to bake it by framing it that they would be going above and beyond by doing so.
Was this the reason why your relationship was soured?
Yes, I felt like I couldn't trust them anymore. I felt like they were cheating customers, and that isn't what they stood for.
And you may drop Exhibit 3 if you're done with it.
Objection, Your Honor, improper opinion.
Mr. Durst, could you, there was some background noise there. I didn't hear all of your answer. If you could re-answer that question.
Yes. So they considered baking it, but they determined not to bake it by framing it that it would not be necessary and they would be going above and beyond to do so.
And Ms. Lane, your objection is?
Improper opinion.
Mr. Saxena?
Permission to confer with co-counsel?
Yes, you may.
It is the fact that they decided that they would not bake Truffaut into their products.
But the objection was as to the reason for that. As to why.
Could you repeat the objection?
Sure, Ms. Lane.
My objection was improper opinion.
And improper opinion by whom?
By Mr. Durst.
Got it. Mr. Saxena?
This is an opinion by Mr. Durst. This is a fact that was up by the company. The company decided not to bake Truffaut in their products.
Well, I'm going to sustain the objection unless you can lay a foundation with your witness. It is a fact that they did not bake it. That's apparently not in dispute. But as to why they didn't bake it, that you'll have to lay some more foundation as to why he knows that, why he's stating that. Is that his personal opinion, or did it come from someone else? Or
Mr. Durst, could you please elaborate?
Yes. So it cost a lot of money to bake Truffaut, and based on what I've been told from the company, they decided not to because they'd be going above and beyond.
Objection, Your Honor, outside witness's scope of knowledge.
Well, he said that he was told that, so he has knowledge of that. There may be a different objection, but not that one.
Okay, my second objection is hearsay outside of court evidence presented.
Mr. Saxena.
Mr. Durst, can you please confirm?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Durst, can you please confirm why this is not hearsay?
Yes, based.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, based on the information I received from the company. It was incredibly costly, and based on you can see it in my affidavit, it was incredibly expensive to bake it, and thus they did not do so.
Ms. Lane, do you withdraw the objection or do you still state it? That this is hearsay?
I still state this is hearsay, Your Honor.
Mr. Saxena, as to the hearsay of information to Mr. Durst from the company, what's your response?
Your Honor, I believe that Mr. Durst has, as an employee, Mr. Durst has knowledge on this topic, and it's not hearsay as he was told by his peers.
I agree. Objections overruled. This is the information came from the party, from the company, so it is not hearsay. You may proceed. He's already answered the question. Let's move on.
Mr. Durst, what else led to your poor relationship?
A lot of things. So after this confrontation, I began to receive abysmal performance reviews, and eventually was placed onto performance improvement plan, leading to a probationary status. And I also had an extremely heated argument with Blake Doncourt one day after confronting him about that.
How was your relationship following your disagreement?
All of these decisions and choices made by Lush Fertilizer destroyed my relationship with them and led me to my consideration to join Terrace Greenery.
Did you work for an opposing company following your resignation?
I did, because at this point, all my knowledge was specifically in the field of fertilizer, and it would set me back years if I was to not continue to work in this field.
Did you then engage in a legal battle?
Yes, following my resignation, they went after me legally, and it led me to waiting 6 months before I could begin my employment with Terrace Greenery.
Then would you not have a bias against Lush?
Yes, I would not, because Mr. Doncourt and his family still held an important place in my life, and I would never unnecessarily spite them.
Then why are you testifying?
Due to my great empathy for Dakota Weirs, who became a victim of these false studies and deserves compensation for these harms.
Thank you, Mr. Durst. That'll be all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Lane, cross-exam.
Yes, Your Honor. Hello, Mr. Durst. Is this your first time testifying against Lush?
This is not my first legal battle with Lush, but this is my first time in this manner doing so.
And your most recent appearance your most recent appearance was with Lush, besides this, was due to your breaking of an NDA, correct?
Yes, they accused me of violating my NDA, and thus we had a legal environment, which led to me having to wait 6 months before I could work at Terrace Greenery.
And you
work just for the court, NDA is a non-disclosure agreement, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thanks. You go right ahead.
And you work for Terrace Greenery now as the lead product developer, is that correct?
Yes.
And what year did you begin working for Terrace Greenery?
I began in the year of 2006.
What year did you start your career in the fertilizer business?
I began in 2003, as I said in my direct, with Lush Fertilizer.
And you know Blake Doncourt, founder and CEO of Lush personally, correct?
Yes, he was an extremely close family friend, especially with his son, Charles.
And you quit due to an issue you were having with your supervisor?
I was technically fired, but due to various different reasons, I guess, stated during my direct.
And you went to see Blake Doncourt about your dispute with your supervisor, correct?
It was one of the last things I did before I quit, yes.
Would you describe you and Blake's relationship as being close friends when you entered this job?
He was a family friend. I was close friends with his son, but he was like family to me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Durst, but it seems like there's a lot of background noise in your Zoom and I'm having a lot of trouble hearing you. You keep cutting out.
Is there a lot of background noise? Sorry. Not aware of that.
You off. I'm not sure what.
Oh, I think there was a bell.
Oh, yes.
Did that cut me off?
Yes, sir.
Answer the question if you needed me to.
I'll continue. Would you say he did or did not support you in your argument against your supervisor?
He did not support me in my argument. He valued his supervisor more than me at that time.
Would you say you felt betrayed by Blake Doncourt for not supporting you in this matter?
Of course, he was like family to me, as I said.
So you believe that your family, whom you've known for a very long time, did not support you?
I think Blake was under a lot of stress, and he did not support me in this matter.
And you and his son Charles were best friends throughout childhood and even college, correct?
Yes.
And you two went to ASU together?
And following that, I got my job at Lush.
Would you describe yourself as a student in the top of the class at ASU?
I was not necessarily at the top of the class.
What did you major in, Mr. Durst?
It was chemical engineering, I believe.
So you're an engineer, not a toxicologist?
I am not a toxicologist.
Neither are you an oncologist?
I am not an oncologist neither.
Epidemiologist?
I am not an epidemiologist.
Nor medical doctor?
I am not a medical doctor, as I am not an expert witness in this case.
Did you plan on working for Lush while you were post-grad job hunting?
Yes, that was my initial plan.
I'd like to direct your attention to, I believe it's page 2 of your witness statement.
And Mr. Durst, you have a copy of that?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
It'd be the first page of your witness statement, line 15 through 16. I'll read that aloud. I hadn't necessarily planned on working for Lush. Then you continue with shortly before graduation, I had still not found a job. So I'd like to ask you again, did you plan on working for Lush while you were post-grad job hunting originally?
I was not initially planning on to working there, but after I could not find a job, Charles helped me find a job at Lush Fertilizer, where I became a very well-versed person in fertilizer.
Thank you. And you entered as an intern, correct?
Yes.
Would you say you and Charles commiserated regarding post-grad jobs?
Yes, we did.
So you were introduced to the job by the CEO's son rather than the CEO himself?
He had his dad help me get the job.
And Blake Doncourt chose to hire you over top of their class Ivy League graduates, correct?
Yes, he did.
And you entered the business as a part of the research and development team, right?
Yes.
In a matter of 3 short months, you were promoted to a full-time job, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And that job was as head product development engineer?
Yes, it was.
I'd like to bring your attention to the second page of your witness statement, line 26, in which you say you were promoted to a product development engineer, not head.
Sorry, I did not. Did you ask if I was the head product development manager?
Yes, sir, I did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misheard you. I was not the head product development engineer.
Well, as a part of your new job in the research, or as a part of your new job, and this is going back to you as an intern in the first 3 months of your employment, was to research the chemical compounds that comprise Drufo, correct?
Yes.
And how many were you personally tasked with?
I'm not sure of the exact number off the top of my head.
Would you like me to refresh your memory, Mr. Durst?
If you would so choose.
On the second page of your witness statement, line 36, you say that I was tasked with researching one of the chemical compounds that comprise Drufo.
Yes.
So how many were you personally tasked with researching?
As you just said, I was tasked with one.
Just one. Did you find any outside studies that said Drufo may be carcinogenic?
As I said during my direct, Exhibit 3 shows that.
And in what life form?
In rats.
Would you personally consider rats to be equal to humans?
I would say that we do testing on other animals so that we can better test it on humans eventually.
I will ask that question again. Do you personally believe that rats are equal to humans?
Objection.
And the objection is?
Asked and answered.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Ms. Lane, I was just thinking a moment. Ms. Lane, yes, you may respond.
The witness was previously being argumentative and did not answer my question clearly. So I asked him again.
Mr. Saxena?
Ask the question, he answered the question.
I'm going to overrule the objection. Mr. Durst needs to direct himself a little more specifically at the question. His answer might imply a direct answer to that question, but not necessarily. So you may expand on your answer if you wish, Mr. Durst.
Sure. Rats are not necessarily equal to humans, but again, they are a good way to test different chemicals while not testing them on humans and exposing different humans to those harms.
Do you believe there's something wrong or dangerous about Drufo?
Yes, I do.
But Drufo is now a public product, yes?
It is a public product in certain countries, yes.
Would you describe Blake as a long-term member and mentor and close family friend?
Again, yes, as I said previously.
So you, at the time of your employment with Lush Fertilizers, suspected there was something wrong or dangerous about Lush's product, and you allowed your family friend, Mr. Doncourt, to release this product to the public, yes?
No, I did not necessarily allow. I did my job and I reported this study to my supervisors. If my supervisors did not do their proper employment and their job, that is not my fault. I did my best and I did my job.
Did you or did you not have easy access to your family friend, Blake Doncourt?
Yes, I could have had a conversation with him, but it was not proper at that time. I did my job and I reported it to my supervisors.
Thank you, Mr. Durst. In 2006, you quit your job at Lush to work for Terra's Greenery after Blake, as you stated earlier, betrayed you, correct?
Yes.
And soon after you began working for Terra's Greenery, you were called to court because you betrayed an NDA previously signed, yes or no?
I did violate that NDA in working for Terra's Greenery, technically.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. And Mr. Saxena, redirect?
No.
Without redirect, we will have no recross. Mr. Durst, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor.
We'll now have the third witness for the plaintiff. Mr. Stern, you may call your witness.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, Mr. Stern, you may call your witness. He is already sworn, so call him to the stand and you may begin.
Good afternoon. Could you please state your name and spell out your last name for the jury? Oh, wait.
Yes, it is Dr. Casey Rogers. That's Rogers.
Now, Dr. Rogers, what is your qualification?
I went to school at the University of California, Berkeley, where I earned a PhD in agriculture and entomology. I also earned a bachelor's degree in agriculture and chemistry at Colorado State University.
Let the record reflect that opposing counsel has previously been provided with a copy of Exhibit 6. Your Honor, permission to share the screen so the witness may view a copy of Exhibit 6.
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay. Sorry, without going into its contents, can you identify it?
Yes, this is my curriculum vitae.
Is it a true and correct copy?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, the prosecution offers exhibit number 6 into evidence.
And it's Ms. Doyle, correct?
Correct.
And Ms. Doyle, any objection to it's exhibit 6, am I correct?
Correct, no objection.
Fair enough. Exhibit 6 is admitted into evidence. Mr. Stern, you may proceed.
And what do you do for a living now?
I'm now a professor in the horticulture and entomology department at University of California, Berkeley. I have long been studying the effects of farming chemicals on the human body. This is not the first time that my research has been used in a case. However, this is the first time that I will be testifying.
In your extensive research of farm chemicals such as Drufo, what are some of the prolonged effects of the chemicals?
Well, first of all, the chemical Drufo came to the market of fertilizers without much research on the safety of the product. Drufo is used in fertilizers to keep the fertilizer intact and preserved. And Drufo is used in every single one of Lush Fertilizers products.
Can you explain this further?
I conducted a study of the long-term effects on Drufo using a group that hadn't been exposed to the chemical and one that was exposed almost on a daily basis. This study monitored people over a long period of time and found that people exposed to Drufo were often 10 times more likely to be diagnosed with cancer.
Do you believe that Dakota Weirs' diagnosis of cancer directly correlated to his exposure with the chemical?
Yes, it is my belief that Dakota Weirs is another.
And Ms. Doyle, the objection?
Lack of personal knowledge.
Your Honor, permission to confer with co-counsel?
Yes, you may.
Lack of personal knowledge.
I do believe this is within his knowledge as he is an expert on this.
You'll need to lay some foundation if he has personal knowledge of this from and where he got it. So you may lay that foundation with Dr. Rogers.
Dr. Rogers, where did you find this information?
I studied it myself.
And Ms. Doyle, will you withdraw your objection or do you maintain it?
I maintain it. Dr. Rogers is not entered as a medical professional.
Mr. Stern?
He is a professional in this case.
Yes, but
An expert witness.
And Ms. Doyle?
Sorry, he's not entered as a medical professional.
Well, I haven't qualified him as an expert yet, but we have to decide whether or not he has this information before I can qualify him. So I'm going to overrule the objection. Mr. Stern, you may proceed with your foundation for this expert. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I will repeat the question. And do you believe that Dakota Weirs' diagnosis of cancer directly correlated to his exposure with the chemical?
Now,
Yes.
hang on. Unless I've missed something, I haven't qualified Dr. Rogers to give an opinion yet, and that would be an opinion. So if I qualify him, unless I've missed something here, have you offered him as an expert?
Yes.
Not yet. Are you offering him now as an expert?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Doyle, any objection to Dr. Rogers being offered as an expert? And Mr. Stern, in what area are you offering him as an expert? Or what is his expertise?
His expertise is in the research of Drufo and its effects on humans.
Objection.
And do you wish to voir dire this witness, or what is the basis of your objection?
I object to him being entered in the negative effects of Drufo, as he does not have the qualifications to be testifying to this.
Okay, Mr. Stern, I'm going to need something more from Dr. Rogers about what the basis for why he is an expert. Has he developed the product? What's he done to be an expert?
He has ran a study.
I'm telling you to ask Dr. Rogers so that I can get that from the witness.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Dr. Rogers, what have you done to be qualified as an expert witness today?
I have spent almost my entire life studying the effects of farm chemicals on the human body. I'm a professor in the horticulture and entomology department at the University of California, Berkeley, and I possess a PhD in agriculture and entomology.
Okay, Mr. Stern has offered this witness as an expert in a particular chemical, not in a general area. So I need more, Mr. Stern. You said he's going to be an expert on Drufo, not on all these general chemicals that he may have studied in college. I need something more positive if I'm going to qualify him as an expert in that specific area of Drufo.
Your Honor, is it possible to change this to just agriculture in general?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Now, Mr. or Dr. Rogers, what qualifies you to be a professional in agriculture?
I possess a PhD in agriculture and entomology, which I earned at the University of California, Berkeley, and I possess a bachelor's degree in agriculture and chemistry, which I earned at Colorado State University.
All right, so you're offering him as a expert in agriculture, is that correct?
Yes.
Does that include this chemical Drufo?
Yes.
Then he needs to testify about that. What is his background in that chemical? How can he testify to that? That's what I need to know.
If excuse me, Your Honor, if he did a study on the effects of Drufo, would
Yes.
that qualify
If he
him?
did, ask him. Yep, that'll do it.
Dr. Rogers, what qualifies you to be an expert in this topic?
I have been studying Drufo for a very long time.
Ms. Doyle, do you
Thank you.
maintain the objection?
Yes, I don't believe the witness has a degree in agriculture, but horticulture.
Well, you may voir dire him on that. I don't know, if you wish.
We entered Exhibit 9?
You'd like to voir dire him then?
Yes.
Okay, we have not entered Exhibit 9, I don't think, no.
Oh, how about Exhibit 8?
Exhibit 8, we have admitted, and if we can get that posted by someone.
I can post that.
Thank you.
I would like to remove my objection.
Then I will qualify this expert. I'll qualify Dr. Rogers as an expert in agriculture, having a focus on Drufo. You may proceed, Mr. Stern.
Thank you. And I will repeat the previous question. And do you believe that Dakota Weirs' diagnosis of cancer directly correlated to his exposure with the chemical?
Yes, it is my belief that Dakota Weirs is another victim of Lush Fertilizer's ignorance. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is not a genetic disease and is usually caused by exposure to an environmental condition such as pesticides.
Why do you believe this?
Dakota Weirs was exposed to this chemical for 4 years regularly and showed very similar results to patients studied in my research of Drufo. There is a high chance that Dakota Weirs' non-Hodgkin's lymphoma was caused by extensive exposure to Drufo.
Thank you for your time today, Dr. Rogers.
And Ms. Doyle, you may cross-examine.
Thank you. Hello, Dr. Rogers.
Hello.
Is today your first day testifying as an expert witness?
Yes.
And as you stated in your witness statement that if this case goes as if it should, you would be on the forefront of many class action lawsuits to come. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Do you believe that being on the forefront of big lawsuits to come would result in a substantial paycheck?
Yes, I am being paid for this.
Thank you. Now, was your study peer reviewed?
Yes, it was.
You did not mention this in your witness statement.
I'm sorry, looking back on it, no, it was not.
Thank you. Isn't it true that this study was not controlled to include smokers?
No, it was not.
What about vapors?
No, it was not.
Different geography and environment?
No,
Any other known groups with high cancer rates?
no,
And has your study ever been duplicated?
no, it's not.
Now, your study does include farmers, correct?
Yes, it does.
And do you believe that farmers could have used any products other than Drufo in their work, such as pesticides and fertilizers?
Sure, but it was a controlled experiment and we made sure that they were using Drufo.
Yet you did not mention this in your witness statement.
No,
Would you agree that environmental factors could cause, outside environmental factors could cause non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
of course.
All right, moving on. Would you agree with me in saying that the definition of correlation is a relation existing between variables which tend to vary on a way not expected on the basis of chance?
Yes,
Thank you. Now, in your witness statement, you suggest that there is a correlation between Drufo and cancer. But
Yes.
according to the above said definition of correlation, that is not at all a direct link, but more two variables relative to one another, correct?
Objection, compound question.
I can rephrase.
You may.
In your witness statement, you suggest there's a correlation between Drufo and cancer, correct?
Yes.
According to the above agreed upon definition, this is not at all a direct link, but more two variables relative to one another, correct?
Yes.
Dr. Rogers, you're a very smart individual. What is 10 times 0?
0.
Thank you. You seem to love.
Objection, relevance.
Let's see where she's going.
Okay.
All right, Doyle.
Dr. Rogers states in his case that people are 10 times more likely to contract cancer when using Drufo, yet 10 times 0 is still 0.
Is that a question?
Is there a question?
No.
Is that a question, Ms. Doyle?
I can ask him again.
Let's strike your statement and ask a question.
Okay. Do you state in your witness statement that people who use Drufo are 10 times more likely to contract non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
Yes, I do.
And would you agree that 10 times 0 is still 0?
Yes.
To reduce the risk of any possible adverse effects to Drufo, the user should wear long sleeve pants and even a mask. Is this correct?
Yes, it is.
And did the defendant do this?
No, they did not.
And when you studied a group of people that did use Drufo with these coverings, your results were inconclusive, correct?
Yes.
Dr. Rogers, what is your PhD in?
In agriculture.
Objection, asked and answered.
But on direct, not cross, you may continue, Ms. Doyle.
Okay.
What is your PhD in, Dr. Rogers?
It is in agriculture and entomology.
Is entomology the branch of zoology concerned with the study of insects?
Yes.
And horticulture is basically garden cultivation.
Yes, it is.
So you only have formal training in horticulture and entomology?
No, because I also possess a bachelor's degree in agriculture.
Okay, agriculture. Do you agree that agriculture could relate to horticulture?
Yes.
So you have made a claim based on your study that has never been replicated, correct?
Yes.
And this study looked at loosely controlled groups that were never intended to include other groups with high cancer rates, correct?
Yes.
And you've done this all as a gardener and a doctor of gardening and bugs.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
And Mr. Stern, recross? Redirect. Sorry.
No, we will not be redirecting today.
All right. Without redirect, there is no recross. I don't think there's any time for recross in any event. Dr. Rogers, that concludes your testimony. Thank you. You are excused.
Thank you.
And Mr. Stern, any additional witnesses for the plaintiff?
No, not at this time.
And Ms. Doyle, is the prosecution prepared, or I'm sorry, the defense prepared to go forward with your case?
Yes, we are.
All right. Looks as though Ms. Lane is taking the first witness. Ms. Lane, are you ready to go?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm not seeing you there. Let's see here. I don't have your camera up yet. There we go. And we have a witness, and I've got, give me just a moment here. Mr. Saxena, it appears you are on cross. Is that correct? For the plaintiff? Mr. Saxena?
Yes.
And you're on cross for the plaintiff, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Lane, you may call your witness.
Calling Sky. Okay, I call Blake Doncourt to the stand.
And Ms. Doncourt, you've been sworn, and Ms. Lane, you may continue.
Hello, Miss Doncourt. Could you please state your full name and spell your last name for the record?
Blake Doncourt, Doncourt.
Thank you, Miss Doncourt. Could you tell me why we're here today?
Well, my company is being accused of ignoring a known and potentially dangerous carcinogen in our product.
I was wondering, what is your job?
Well, I am the Chief Executive Officer at Lush Fertilizers, and since 2000, I have helped this company grow from an unknown producer of fertilizers to one of the largest producer of fertilizers.
As CEO, how would you describe your business?
Even though Lush started out as a small company, it has now grown to one of the world's largest producers of commercial and yard fertilizers. Lush is used by many people all around the country, and its success has even allowed us to direct 10% of its profits to charities.
Do you have your own charity?
Yes, we do. Our charity works to decrease the amount of pollution in the oceans with the most pollution around the world.
Do your charities also give back or donate money?
Yes, we want our customers to feel connected to us through the community, so we give back. And our charities that we give back to work to reduce the world's carbon footprint and have been instrumental in creating state and national legislation to seek further education on issues worldwide.
Have you ever gotten a award for your charity work?
We have. Lush has actually received an SEAL award for business sustainability.
Your company has been accused of including a so-called dangerous bonding agent in your product. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah.
Lack of personal knowledge.
Ms. Lane, do you feel you need any more foundation with this witness, or do you oppose the objection?
I oppose the objection.
Mrs. Saxena, what is the basis for your that the owner of this business can't testify to this issue?
Mr. Donker is not an expert in the development of his product.
Excuse me, Mr. Saxon, I'd just like to clarify that my client uses she, her pronouns.
Sorry. Let me rephrase that. She is not an expert in the exact development of her product.
Let's go ahead. For the time being, I'm going to overrule the objection. Let's hear a little bit more about what this witness has to say on the topic, and we'll see if she has that information as the owner of the company. You may go ahead, Ms. Lane.
Ms. Doncourt, if you'll allow, I'd like to ask you another question.
Yes.
Is your product government approved?
Yes, it is government approved.
If the accusations being made against you were true, would you have done anything differently when releasing the product?
Of course, I would have insisted that we include extensive warnings, and if dangerous enough, I would have never released our product. And to be clear, I feel horribly sad for Dakota Weirs, and I wish him a very swift recovery.
Did you include a warning label on your product?
We did. It was nothing like a spacesuit. It was just something as simple as wearing long pants and long sleeve t-shirts.
Are there any valid studies proving that your product is dangerous and or in need of these labels?
No, none at all. I've heard that many people have claimed to do studies on my product, but none of these studies have been published in a scientific journal or anything like that. So there's no evidence that these studies even exist.
Did Carson Durst used to work for Lush Fertilizer?
Yes, he did. And his job was to look for risks and dangers within this product.
And what exactly, excuse me, did you hear Carson Durst testify earlier today?
I did.
And what exactly were the contents of Carson's original claim that brought him into court today?
Well, I heard that Carson testified against me for financial motivation to put a dangerous product in public hands.
Did Carson ever bring up the fact that Drufo could have been in even the slightest chance of being dangerous?
No, not until after he was fired.
And that was his entire job, right? To let you know if the product was dangerous?
Yes.
Did you ever receive an email discussing the dangers of Drufo?
No, I didn't.
So what of the email that Carson Durst presented?
Well, the search on our computers did not turn up such an email.
So where did Carson go to work after he worked for you?
He went to Terrace Greenery, which, as you are probably aware, is our biggest competitor. And it was not until after he went to work at Terrace Greenery in which he brought up these claims against me and my company.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
And Mr. Saxena, cross-exam.
Mr. Donker, you are the CEO of Lush Fertilizer, is that correct?
Yes,
And you do treat your employees fairly?
I do.
Okay. Your product contains Drufo?
It does.
Are you aware that Drufo can cause non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Well, our studies didn't show that Drufo could cause non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
But as the CEO, you are aware of all the work of your employees, right?
Yes, I am.
You make the claim that nobody found anything that relates non-Hodgkin lymphoma to Drufo, correct?
I did.
You or your employees who read the reports have taken into account everyone's research and opinion. Is that correct?
I would believe so.
And you, as the head of the company, have access to all of their work, correct?
Yes.
That's very interesting because in Mr. Durst's affidavit, he says that he found a paper from Great Britain which states that Drufo can be carcinogenic in rats. Were you aware of this?
I was not aware of this.
If not, then how is it possible to claim that nobody had found any negative harms of Drufo?
Nobody in my company.
Carson Durst, I believe, was working in your company at this time, was he not?
Yes, he was.
So then someone had found potential harms of Drufo in your product. Is that correct?
Well, he never brought it up to my attention.
However, as the CEO, you did have access to this information, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
I'll allow, overruled, I'm going to allow it. It is in the context of her previous answer, although the same issue was addressed, not in the same context, so overruled. Mr. Saxena, you may proceed.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, you did have access to that and to his work, correct?
Yes, however, I didn't see this research.
And you claim that nobody had found any research suggesting that Drufo can potentially be carcinogenic?
Yes, nobody in my company.
So you claim that Drufo is not that nobody had found that Drufo was carcinogenic in your company, despite Carson Durst's work. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I was never aware of this work.
Okay. Now, as the head of the company, you said that there would be labels if there was anything potentially harmful on the product. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now I'd like to talk briefly about Dakota Weirs. Mr. Donker, are you aware of what happened to Dakota?
I am aware.
Did you or Lush Fertilizer attempt to assist her?
Well, we do wish her a swift recovery.
Besides wishing her a swift recovery, did you take any towards helping out Dakota?
I don't believe so.
But you do sympathize with her, don't you?
Yes, I do.
So you donate to charities and sympathize with her, but you didn't help her. Is that correct?
Well, there was no need to. She has a doctor.
Okay. I also understand that during this time you were going through a divorce.
I am, but I don't see the relevance.
So you needed a lot of money very quickly. Is that correct?
No, not necessarily.
But you did have to pay a lot of money to your ex-wife, right?
I did.
Action, Your Honor, improper character evidence. The witness's reputation is not an issue in this case.
Mr. Saxena,
I believe that it is.
and why is it?
Because they're the CEO of Lush Fertilizer.
Ms. Lane,
Miss Doncourt's divorce does not relate to her ability to run a business.
It relates to her character.
well, that's the question. Is it improper character evidence, or is it relevant to some other issue? Mr. Saxena.
I believe it's relevant to this.
If it is simply character evidence, then under 404B, it is excluded. But if it is relevant to some other issue, then it is relevant.
I believe it is relevant because it impacts why they were, she was in an argument with Carson. Is that correct?
Well, is that a question for the witness?
Yeah.
All right.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. Would you say that you were stressed by these sudden expenses?
No.
Were you ever yelling at your employees at your office?
No, I don't believe so.
I believe that you mentioned that in your witness statement.
If you can direct her to that, please do so. If not, we'll move on.
Do you have that? Do you have access to the witness statement?
I do.
I'd like to direct you to one moment, Your Honor.
Your Honor, just out of curiosity, is time still running?
Time is running, yes.
Did you get into an argument with Carson Durst?
I did.
And what was that over?
Well, I can't remember at this moment.
Okay. And he feels that he was fired unfairly, correct?
Well, I don't believe unfairly, but
We're getting some feedback in someone's microphone here. Do any of you have some background noise, someone else talking?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. There's another conference going on in the room next to me.
Oh, okay.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. And Ms. Lane, redirect. I'm sorry,
Yes, Your Honor, I do have a redirect.
go right ahead.
Ms. Durst, were you aware of Dakota's illness before she tried to sue you?
No, I was not aware.
So would you agree that it's outside of the scope of your knowledge to her illness before this case?
I would.
Objection leading.
Sustained. Strike that. Ms. Lane, you may ask a direct question on redirect.
How would you describe your relationship with Miss Weirs post this case? Any contact with her, anything like that?
No,
Or pre this case, sorry, not post.
no, it's outside the scope of my knowledge.
What?
Let's go. I think the witness was probably confused by the initial question. Ms. Lane, let's re-ask the question about pre and post. I think she was just confused. Let's re-ask the question.
Before this case, how would you describe your relationship with Dakota Weirs?
There was no relationship.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
And Mr. Saxena, re-cross on that issue.
Sorry, Your Honor, I was muted. No. None.
Thank you very much. Ms. Doncourt, your testimony is concluded. You are dismissed. Thank you very much. And we will have the next witness for the, excuse me, for the defense. And I believe, Ms. Lane, you're taking that witness as well. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and we have Mr. Stern on cross, and Ms. Lane, you may call your second witness.
I'd like to call Skylar Weirs to the stand.
And Ms. Weirs, you have been sworn. Ms. Lane, you may continue.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Skylar Weirs, Weirs.
Hello, Skylar. Today, I'm just going to start with a simple question for you. What do you do for work?
I'm a journalist.
And what schooling do you have in this subject?
I went to college. I don't have a college degree though, but I do extensive research on the articles I read.
What normal area of writing do you like to stick to?
Well, I love to write anything about science, so that's usually what I stick to, but I write about anything.
And how do you write these articles?
Well, it takes nearly a year to find and organize all the information for each article that I write.
Have you ever written things regarding agriculture?
I have. I write about modern horticulture, which is basically like modern technology that is used for farming, planting, and GMO.
Have you ever written about DRUFO?
Yes, I have, a while back.
Your Honor, I would like to offer Skylar Weirs as an expert in modern agritech pursuant to Rule 702.
And Mr. Stern, any objection?
No objections.
I'll qualify Ms. Weirs as an expert in general agrotech, also mentioning, including DRUFO. Ms. Lane, you may continue.
Thank you. Do you publish your who do you publish your articles through?
I publish them in a magazine called Rationalist Magazine.
What is Rationalist Magazine?
Rationalist Magazine is a quarterly science education advocacy magazine. It's published by a nonprofit organization whose goal is to reduce the amount of pseudoscience in the media.
What do you do outside of work? Any hobbies or regular weekend plans?
Well, I love to write, so I nearly consider that a hobby, but I do admit I like to gamble on weekends.
Does your family support your gambling career?
No, they do not, but I still need the extra money because journalist is not one of the highest paying jobs out there.
How is your relationship with your sister?
We used to be very close, but we grew apart due to different hobbies, different things.
And how is your relationship with Dakota after she got sick?
Well, we stopped contact, but I do wish her a speedy recovery, and I hope that she does recover.
And how was your relationship with her before she got sick?
We used to be really close. We did basically everything together.
What does your sister attribute to her sickness, if you know?
She attributes Drufo.
And you say you wrote about Drufo?
Yes.
Was writing this article out of the ordinary for you?
No, I usually write about anything I can get my hands on. I love writing, so that was not out of the ordinary.
Have you ever been ridiculed for what you write?
Yes, I have.
At what time did you write about the Drufo article?
Objection leading.
Overruled. You may re-ask the question.
At what time did you write the Drufo article?
I wrote it a long time ago, probably around 3 years before.
Objection asked and answered.
I don't recall that information. I'm going to allow the witness to testify.
Your Honor, she did say that she wrote the article several years back earlier.
In response to a different question, though. I don't recall it was the same question. In any event,
okay.
We've heard it twice. Let's proceed.
What could be dangerous about Drufo in your professional opinion?
Not a lot. Well, there really isn't. Basically, to my knowledge, I basically know pretty much anything about Drufo, and I don't think that it is dangerous.
Does Drufo have carcinogens?
Yes, it does.
And would you say it has a dangerous amount as a professional in this area?
No.
So, do you believe that Drufo is dangerous?
Not at all.
Let's actually make that a little bit clearer. Dangerous could mean a lot of things, but would you say it's less dangerous in regards to what scale, in comparison to what?
It's definitely less dangerous than other fertilizers on the market.
Objection. Vague question.
Overruled. I don't think the question is vague. The answer may be a little vague, but I don't think the question was vague. So if you want to drill into that question a little bit, or into that answer, Ms. Lane, you may.
Yes. Ms. Weirs, could you just clarify the comparison of the dangers of Drufo?
Well, like I said, compared to other fertilizers, it is not dangerous.
Objection. Lack of foundation.
Ms. Lane, you'll have to ask this witness a little bit more. She's testified to that before, but not as to why it is less dangerous. Simply less dangerous, but why?
Oh, yes, of course. I'll write that right now.
So we have direct and cross posted 15:16 on direct, and we have the same on cross. Ms. Lane, are you prepared to go forward with we'll call it a fire drill interruption? Everyone's back in the courtroom now, and you may proceed with your witness, Ms. Weirs.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Weirs, I just have one final question for you. In your professional opinion, how would you describe the dangers of Drufo?
Well, it's not very dangerous because, one, it doesn't have many carcinogens, and it is less dangerous than other fertilizers on the market.
Fascinating. Thank you, Skylar, and thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stern. You may cross-examine.
Thank you. Let's talk about you. You're a twin with Dakota.
Yes.
You're an investigative journalist
Yes.
and you've written articles.
Yes.
And one of these articles was published for Rationalist magazine.
Yes.
It suggested that there is no link between Drufo and cancer, or that there is no link between Drufo and cancer.
Well, that there is a sketchy link between Drufo and cancer.
And
Okay.
Mr. Stern, if I could pause you and pause the time, all timekeepers, please pause. I need to make sure I've got all my scoring panelists. I see Ms. Nichols. I see, let's see, Mr. Gruskin, and where's my third?
Kate Ives, I'm here, Your Honor.
Ms. Ives. Okay, I'm sorry. It didn't say when you entered, it didn't say scoring panelists, and I just didn't know who it was. So we've got everybody. We can start the time again. Sorry for the continued interrupting you, Mr. Stern, and Ms. Lane, you too. But Mr. Stern, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. This article suggested there's no link between Drufo and cancer.
It says that there's a sketchy link between cancer and Drufo.
Your twin brother has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah.
So you're going against your own family in this case.
Yeah.
And you were making money from this case?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about your research. You have no college degree?
No.
You have studied research on Drufo.
Yes.
You say the correlation between Drufo and cancer is inconclusive at best.
Yeah.
And you use the word poison to describe pesticides and herbicides.
Yes.
You also said nitrogen is a known cause of cancer. And Drufo is known to have nitrogen in it.
Ms. Weir, is that a yes or nod? You must answer orally.
Yes.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
And Drufo is known to have nitrogen in it.
Yes.
All right, let's start talking about your personal life. You and Dakota don't have, per se, the stereotypical twin relationship.
Yes.
You chose not to go to college?
I went to college, but I don't have a college degree.
Okay. Are you sure about this?
Yes.
Okay. This upset your family that you don't have a college degree.
Yes.
Instead, you chose to become a writer.
Yeah, because it's my passion.
And you make money from your articles.
Not as much, but I do.
And because of this, you work part-time at Applebee's.
Yes.
You also like to gamble?
Yes.
You bet on sports.
Yes.
You bet on March Madness a few years back.
Yes.
And you lost this bet?
Yes.
Now, this put you in a bad monetary position.
Yes.
And your mom financially aided you on the side.
Yeah.
And when she died, your dad cut off the exchange.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time. No further questions.
And Ms. Lane, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Weirs, could you please talk to me about your relationship with writing?
Well, I love writing. Like I said, I would consider that a hobby, but not really. It's just my biggest passion.
And what about your current financial situation?
Well, I am in debt, but I do obviously have a source of income.
Ms. Weirs, the court can see that with your job at Applebee's and your job as a writer, and even spending your free time trying to earn money through gambling, you're a very hard worker. I just want to ask you one final question. What about your relationship with your sister?
Well, we used to be very close. We did everything together. But then after a while, because we moved from each other, our relationship started to little to no contact.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Weirs, and thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Mr. Stern, recross, sorry.
I just have a couple questions. So you do consider writing a passion, correct? Not a job.
It's both.
Both for you. Okay. And do you use gambling as a source of income?
Well, yeah. Being a journalist isn't the highest paying job, so I need a little more extra help to pay bills.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Weirs. You are excused as a witness. We'll now have the next witness for the defense. I believe Ms. Doyle, it is your witness. And we will.
That is correct.
Ooh, that's okay. And Ms. Doyle, you may call your witness, and we have, let's see here, Mr. Rohde will be doing cross-exam. You may call your witness. She has already been sworn. Please call her to the stand.
We call Dr. Devin Williams.
And Dr. Williams, you've been sworn. You may proceed with your examination, Ms. Doyle.
Good afternoon. Please state your name and spell your last for the record.
Dr. Devin Williams, Williams.
Hello, Dr. Williams. Why don't we start with you giving us some information about your profession?
Well, I'm an expert in pharmacotoxicology and how biological systems respond to environmental interventions.
And what is your educational background in this subject?
I have my undergrad through PhD at Colorado State University. Post PhD, I did a really cool course in pharmacotoxicology at the University of Utah.
Could you please talk about your role in Lush and why you brought on to their research team?
I was brought on as a lab technician to increase testing timeliness. Later, I was promoted to oversee labs and mainly work on environmental impacts.
And could you tell us a little bit more about your work with Lush?
I have worked with Lush for over a decade, 7 years in the toxicology department. And like I said, then I now work on environmental impacts. But on top of that, I write articles like my article about forensic aspects of poison.
And could you talk about the product of Drufo as a fertilizer?
Yeah, so fertilizers use two different ways to enhance plant growth.
Before I take opinion testimony from this expert, I need to have her qualified. So do you have an area in which she can testify, an area of expertise?
I am Lane Foundation to enter her as such. She is just talking about what a fertilizer does.
Nope, that's an opinion as opposed to having a background in it. She can testify, or she can give her testimony as to what her background is to all of that, but until I qualify her, she can't tell me about poisons and fertilizer. So let's get her qualified.
All right. Well, Your Honor, based on the witness's extensive knowledge of biology and forensic and pharmacotoxicology and extensive work in Lush Labs, we move to enter the witness as in negative effects of Drufo, expert in biology and pharmacotoxicology pursuant to Rule 702.
So biology and pharmacotoxicology.
And negative effects of Drufo.
Okay, and Mr. Rohde, any objection to any of those three?
No objections.
All right, the witness is qualified in the general areas of biology and pharmacotoxicology, specifically involving the toxicity of Drufo. You may continue, Ms. Doyle. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to the previous question. Could you talk about the product of Drufo as a fertilizer?
Yes, so fertilizers enhance the growth of plants by two different ways. The first one is by adding nutrients to the soil, and the second one is by modifying water rentation and aeration. Drufo is a really cool fertilizer in that it uses both methods to greatly increase the fertilizer standards.
And Dr. Williams, is Drufo banned in the EU?
Yes, it is.
And why did this happen to Drufo?
Drufo is banned in the EU because it contains nitrogen, and like all fertilizers, like all other fertilizers, the European Union decided that it was best
to ban Drufo and other fertilizers that contain nitrogen.
And was this ban over a cancer concern?
No, it was over one simple fact: Drufo contains nitrogen.
And why did Lush not decide to fight the EU ban?
I mean, imagine a small startup company going against a global organization. I don't think that would have ended well. Lush decided that it was best to manufacture a product for inside the EU and then a product for outside the EU.
And with that said, does Lush have any intentions of gaining EU approval of Drufo in the future?
Well, actually, my lab just conducted a study showing that Drufo leads to reduced eutrophication. We're hoping to submit this data to the EU in hopes of reconsideration of the product of Drufo.
Excellent. Are you aware of a study done by a Dr. Rogers?
Yes, I am.
And could you tell us what the study is about?
Dr. Rogers looks at exposure for Drufo for farm laborers versus casual gardeners versus people who do neither of those things.
And do you agree with Dr. Rogers' study?
I do not at all.
And why don't you agree with Dr. Rogers' study?
Well, Dr. Rogers' study compares 3 different environments. For example, farm laborers, they're going to be exposed to a variety of different products that could increase cancer risk. And they're not in controlled environments, nor does Dr. Rogers look at pre-existing health conditions that increase cancer risks, such as, smoking, vaping, and drinking.
And when you were if you were in that position, what would you have done?
Well, I would have set up the experiment to be 2 controlled groups with the same pre-existing health conditions. The first group would use Drufo as a fertilizer, and the second group would use another type of fertilizer.
And do you have a financial bias in this case?
Well, I mean, of course I do. I'm getting paid to do my job, and I feel like it would be a little unfair if I wasn't.
And is this paycheck affected at all by the outcome of this case?
No, not at all.
Will you still keep your job at Lush, no matter which way the jury rules?
Yes, I will still have my job at Lush.
And in your opinion, is there any way Drufo could have caused non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
There's no way that Drufo could have caused non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Mr. Rohde, cross-exam.
So you work at Lush Fertilizer, correct?
Yes.
You joined Lush roughly a decade ago,
Yes.
and you oversaw the incorporation of Drufo into Lush Fertilizer.
Yes.
And Drufo is banned in the EU, correct?
Yes, it is.
Furthermore, you're conducting tests to repeal the ban of Drufo to send to the EU.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? You cut out.
You're conducting tests to repeal the ban of Drufo to send to the EU.
Yes.
So you are financially incentivized to testify that Drufo doesn't have any side effects?
I wouldn't say that. I'm here to do my job and say that I have worked with Drufo, and I don't find it to be a cancer concern.
So that's a yes.
Sure.
So you want us to believe that you are morally incentivized to testify?
What do you mean by that?
You have a moral incentive to testify in this case.
I wouldn't say so. I would say that this is just my job. It's not exactly very personal to me.
Moving on, let's talk about your claims that Drufo poses a lower risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. You have argued that, and I quote, all of the data we looked at was consistent with users of fertilizers with Drufo not having an elevated risk of non-Hodgkin lymphoma compared to users of other fertilizers?
Yes.
So Drufo poses a lower risk of non-Hodgkin lymphoma comparatively?
Yes.
But this is not saying Drufo poses no risk.
I have never said that Drufo poses no risk. I'm saying that it's a very, very small chance that Drufo could ever give anyone non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
So that's a yes.
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Doyle, redirect.
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Williams, when talking about the if Drufo could cause cancer, would you say anything has 100% certainty of not causing cancer?
I would say nothing has 100% certainty of causing cancer.
And in your expert opinion, let me rephrase. How long have you worked with the company Lush?
Over a decade.
And in your expert opinion, could Drufo have caused Dakota Weir's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
I do not believe that Drufo caused Dakota Weir's non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Thank you. No further questions.
Mr. Rohde, read cross.
No recross, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Williams. Your testimony is concluded. You are excused. We're going, because of time issues that are not of any of your responsibility, we're going to move directly into closing arguments. Mr. Rohde, for the plaintiff, closing argument, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, may I reserve any of my remaining time for rebuttal?
Do you wish to reserve a specific amount or just anything that remains?
Anything that remains, Your Honor.
Yes, you may.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Again, my name is Dex Rohde, and I'm one of the prosecutors in this case. The prosecution called 3 witnesses to testify as to the defendant's guilt. Each witness testified, establishing the following beyond a reasonable doubt. Lush was negligent in the integration of Drufo in its products and the warning of these dangers. The witnesses are as follows: Ms. Dakota Weirs, Mr. Carson Durst, and Dr. Casey Rogers. First, Ms. Weirs told us about the constricting bonds of living with non-Hodgkin lymphoma, the horrors caused by a company's inability to protect consumers. Then Mr. Durst told us about his experiences with the dismissive, greedy, solely profit-minded Blake Doncourt and the way she runs Lush Fertilizer behind the scenes, including the lack of care, attention to detail, and consumer safety precautions taken. Finally, Dr. Rogers explained the science of Drufo and the findings of a study he conducted on Drufo's carcinogenic impacts on humans, especially with regard to higher rates of non-Hodgkin lymphoma, the disease Ms. Weirs battles daily. We would ask you to reject the defense theories of the case. The defense argues that Drufo is a relatively safe ingredient in Lush's fertilizer. However, this does not mean that Drufo is completely safe. As has been proved in this case, profit was put over people. In conclusion, we would ask that you find the defendant guilty as charged. Thank you.
And Mr. Doyle, Ms. Doyle, I'm sorry, you are doing a closing argument for the defense. You may proceed.
Your Honor, if it pleases the court, my co-counsel and I presented 3 witnesses today that testified about the defendant Lush's extensive research on the safety of Drufo. The first witness being Dr. Devin Williams, who is the head of Lush's research labs and who has a PhD in pharmacotoxicology. Today, she told us that her labs have found no evidence that the product Drufo causes any form of cancer. Another witness, Ms. Skylar Weirs, who has done extensive research on Drufo, testified that Drufo does not contain any carcinogenic ingredients, and that in all her years of research, she has never come upon any credible study that links Drufo to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, much less any other cancer. Finally, we heard from the CEO of Lush, Blake Doncourt. Ms. Doncourt testified to the fact that she was never aware of any unreasonable risk that could be caused using Drufo. I would like to remind the court that the plaintiff has the burden of proof. You have heard from 3 witnesses that testified for the plaintiff, one being Dakota Weirs, someone who has the curse of cancer and was searching for answers, but her search has been led by rumors. And let's be clear, rumors do not cause tumors. Another plaintiff witness you have heard from is Carson Durst, a friend of Blake's son, whose position at Lush was terminated after he proved incompetent at his job. A third plaintiff witness was Dr. Casey Rogers, a doctor of horticulture and entomology with his questionable financial biases, who is trying to tell you something they have zero education about. The defendant concedes that they are the manufacturer of the product Drufo. However, this product was made to be safe for use and tested thoroughly before being put on the market. Now, I want to express on behalf of my entire defense that they were truly saddened by Dakota Weir's disease and how it has negatively affected her life. But through the testimony of Ms. Skylar Weirs, it has been shown that these damages were not and could not have been reasonably caused by Drufo. That being said, let's say that in another world, the defense is found guilty of negligence. Well, if that is true, you must see that Dakota Weirs was negligent as well. She did not use the protection suggested when using the fertilizer Drufo, therefore putting themselves at risk. Ladies and gentlemen, Dakota Weirs only began her research because of a news story on television that had no scientific research to back it up. Let's make one thing quite clear. Rumors do not cause tumors. It is quite easy to believe what one hears on television, but I urge and encourage you all to look at the facts and data before jumping to conclusions, especially when concerning life-threatening topics, such as cancerous tumors. The plaintiff has failed to prove by a preponderance of evidence that Drufo was manufactured without exercising reasonable care in order to prevent any unreasonable risk, and the defendant did not take into account the plaintiff being one of those people who would reasonably use Drufo. Dakota Weir's cancer, although disheartening, has yet to be proven to be caused by Drufo. Therefore, you must find the defendant not liable for negligence and lack of reasonable care. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I charge the jury, I need to make a statement because I would do this in a trial. Both counsel for plaintiff and defendant at one point identified guilt here. This is a civil case. We're not dealing with guilt. We're dealing with liability. In the second reference, counsel for the defense correctly identified liability and not guilt here. So the jury is deciding liability, not guilt. Also, defense counsel in closing correctly identified the burden of proof, which is a preponderance, not beyond a reasonable doubt, which was identified by the plaintiff's counsel. So the jury is to disregard that. It is preponderance that is being decided. With that, the case is submitted. I'm going to ask the scorekeepers here, the scoring panelists, to activate their video when they are completed with their scoring and have submitted their scoring sheets. And because we are way behind here, again, I would say for the I think we will not have comments from the scoring panelists because we're so far behind time. But I will comment for all of us here that the main thing here, in my opinion, is how well all of the attorneys and the witnesses dealt with this interruption we had. I mean, it's like we didn't even have it. I mean, you just picked up instantly, again, all of you, from where we were. And that's really hard. It's really, really hard. Having been a trial attorney and a judge, I can tell you how awful it is when something happens like that. And you know, the trial is interrupted for, it would have been like a fire drill. And all of a sudden, boom, everybody's out of the courtroom. And you have to come back in and pick up where you were. And honestly, it was like we never even had a problem when you picked back up again. So I believe, Kim, I think have you received all of the scoring panelists' score sheets? So we can get our students back to a break where everybody else has been for about 45 minutes. And I just want to make sure that we can conclude this. I'm going to take it on faith that all of our scorekeepers have punched the submit button and that we're okay. So I will let you all go. Take a break. I again apologize for the system. There she is. Kim, are we all set?
Yes, I think we're all good to go. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, folks. I'm sorry we don't get to have comments, but I want you to have a little time before the next round because everybody else is waiting for us. And so thank you very much and good luck to you in the next round.
Great job.